Appreciate the opportunity to provide testimony and once again be a tag team testifier with Mr. Ehlers. A couple of days ago, I had the opportunity to attend a signing ceremony held by the President for the Presidential Memorandum Restoring Scientific Integrity to Governmental Decision-Making. And I see that as validating the President's inaugural declaration that we will restore science to its rightful place. I'm excited about the President's restoring science to its rightful place in our policy process. And now we must turn to restoring science to its rightful place in terms of our national investment. It's worth noting that in the President's inaugural address, when he used that sentence, it was in the economic paragraph of the economic section of his address. Now, I say this not to suggest that there is or should be anything partisan in Function 250 and restoring science to its rightful place in our national investment. It is just that the budget before us, as proposed by the President, as well as the economic stimulus package as negotiated by the Congress and the President, treat science considerably better than we have seen for some time. We know that science and technology have the potential for transforming and accelerating our economy. A particularly telling example comes from the National Science Foundation, which Mr. Ehlers rightly points out is one of the best examples in the world of peer-reviewed investment in knowledge and learning. Two graduate students working on a project a couple of decades ago, an NSF graduate fellow, one of them, developed an innovative method for searching web pages. The two students, Sergey Brin and Larry Page, eventually turned their research into Google. Various studies show that science and engineering research indeed hold the key to our future economic growth. Innovation and technology lead to clearly more than half of our productivity growth, according to a Federal Research Board study, and a National Bureau of Economic Research study similarly estimates that almost 60% of our economic growth is attributable to technical progress. Some of us have been saying this for years. Representative Ehlers and I have come before this committee every year for a decade at least to say that this is the best investment we could be making in research and development and in education that supports that research and development. It is best for bringing improved quality of life to our people, but also the economic growth that we desperately seek in these troubled times. The stimulus, as I mentioned a moment ago, includes more than $20 billion in research. I would argue, a very wise investment. A report by the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation estimates that for each additional $1 billion in investment in research, 20,000 American jobs are created per year. The job creation, I would argue, is comparable to or better than job creation for other spending, even in the short term. And this is the critical importance, this kind of spending by the federal government produces dividends for years to come. It's the gift that keeps on giving. The effect of research underinvestment in the past decade or two has been outlined in Rising Above the Gathering Storm and a number of other places. We have slipped. We have some remedial work to do in these investments. This body passed the America Competes Act in 2007 to stem the decline and to double our investment in the Department of Energy's Office of Science and the National Science Foundation. Unfortunately, the subsequent appropriations fell short of that rate of spending. Now that appears to be on the mend, as proposed by the as proposed in the President's budget and as discussed here in the House. The Atlantic Century, a report by the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation, ranked 40 countries and regions based on 16 metrics of innovation and competitiveness. The report found that the United States no longer ranks first in terms of innovation, does have a moderately good ranking of 6th among the countries studied. But what is disturbing is that the other countries, China, India, European Union countries, and so forth, are pursuing policies that are explicitly designed to spur innovation, and the United States placed last in terms of progress made over the last decade. So I repeat, we have remedial work to do. The government spending in Function 250 is some of the best, most effective government spending there is, and yet we have failed to do it over the years at the level necessary. So I'm here today to urge you to meet at least the President's request in these areas. And for the record, we seem to be on the right track.
How much is the President's request over fiscal year 2009?
For Function 250 total, 31, yes. $31 billion total.
And what was it last year? In 2009 it is?
It's a $1.3 billion increase.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I just point out that generally the problem has not been so much the President's request or the Budget Committee action, but the Appropriation Committee has failed to appropriate as much money as they could have. And that's been an ongoing problem for probably 6 or 7 years now. And so I realize you're one part of it, but if you set a high enough standard, it does let the appropriators clearly know that you believe this is very important as well. And it's not just the President's idea. Thank you.
And to that, I would add, the mood appears to be changing here in Congress as well. And if you set a high bar, I expect that it will be well accepted, and the appropriators will go a long way toward meeting it.
We'll do our best, very best, to meet the President's request, and we appreciate your support and explanation for it. It only strengthens our conviction that this is something that is entirely worthy. Mr. Schrader, would you like to ask any question? Any further comments from Mr. Ehlers or Mr. Holt?
No.
Thank you very much, both of you, for coming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We now go to Mrs.